Welcome back to Sasquatch and Sourdough. I am your host, Christina. And guys, tonight it's another rainy, stormy night in Baltimore because it's Baltimore in summer. I have my really good friend, my new, not so new, because he's been on the show before, Jesse, aka the Handyman Preacher on TikTok. I got it. I got it right.
Nailed it.
Guys, you've known him from Fellowship of the Fringe if you've caught Fellowship of the Fringe. We've done a couple episodes, but I kind of thought it was time that we just sat down and got your story on the record here. And you've also had some really weird stuff going on that we've been talking about. So
A lot of strange stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of spiritual stuff. Let's put it that way.
That's crazy. All right. Before we jump into that, though, do you want to just like kind of tell everybody like a little bit of your testimony and how you like what you're doing on TikTok? Because we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but never really like in detail. Yeah.
Yeah, that's no issue. So like, it's wonderful to be here. I appreciate the invite, and this is exciting. I love opportunities to share the gospel and, what God has done in my life. And I have a very unique sort of testimony, and I don't try to have a unique testimony. It just happened, right? And I was involved in the witchcraft long before I was a Christian. And I practiced the arts. I did everything that I could. I hate calling them art because they're really nothing special. You're just a puppet to these things. And, God led me out of that. And it was actually through a dream that God led me out of that. And it wasn't even so much meeting God in a dream. It was meeting a demon in a dream. And he pushed me towards God because at that time, I didn't attend church. I was young. I was like 13, 14. And, it just pushed me into God's sort of castle, I guess you would say. And the enemy made a declaration against me in that dream. And that's sort of what started my Christian journey. When I woke up from that dream, I started researching every religion from Krishna, the Muslim faith. I mean, you name it, I grabbed it. I went to libraries because we didn't really have the internet at that time.
No, Jesse, we've talked about that before. That was like totally my whole thing too. We didn't have the internet.
It was a library, right?
I wonder how many people like legit have gotten into the occult because of the like occult section
100%.
in the card catalog.
Yep. It's true, right?
Yeah.
And we would go, and I have stories about this with even my boy. We would go to libraries, and it's amazing. Barnes and Noble, they have it right in your face. I mean,
yeah,
you can't even avoid it.
It's so funny because we don't really go there as often.
Right.
I don't really go. I mean, I'm sadly just buy my books on Amazon now. Like, but the last time we were at Barnes and Noble, exactly, there was all kinds of that stuff. But it's funny because like I sit there and I like kind of watch the people and I'm just like, man, I totally was you. Like, I totally get it. Like, I totally get the appeal. It makes sense for,
and, to me, I always feel bad for people who are searching for that because they don't understand the sources that they're playing with or what's really playing with them. I mean, that stuff isn't there for them to utilize. It's to utilize them. It's to live through them and to do their bidding. That's all that is. And I have this conversation all the time because I always lead in with witchcraft because it's so much more enticing than Christianity. So it brings people's guards right down. And that's not manipulation. That's not a tactic. It's just my testimony. And people are so curious about the dark because they see it on TV. Is this stuff really real? Hollywood blasts this stuff into our faces. And so any chance I have, I love taking people out of the dark, bringing them into the light. And the easiest way to do that is to tell them what Jesus did for me. He saved me from all that stuff.
Yeah.
And still is, right? And that's a personal angle of mine. Anytime I'm doing this, I always enjoy sharing the gospel through the dark. And I always consider people who have played with witchcraft touched by the dark because those demons know you intimately. They know your bloodlines. They know everything about you. They get to know you because they have nothing else to do, nothing to live for. Well, primarily because they're all dead.
Right. But, well, they just want to inhabit. Like, they want to live through us, basically. Like, It's the
like a
whole
narcissist,
it's just like the whole, yeah, we were talking about narcissists.
right?
It's like the whole jealousy,
Yeah,
like, kind of
envy.
aspect of it. It is, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and I mean, each one's just as evil as the next. So, tarot cards, divination, all of it, seances, the Ouija board. I have stories regarding every piece of this stuff. And, people just loosely play with it.
I have
And
a
that's,
question for you, like,
yeah,
because we've talked about this quite a bit, like, at least on Fellowship of the Fringe, and I feel like the more that I talk about this stuff, the more that I'm just kind of wondering, do you think that there's a reason that certain people are more drawn to darkness than not so much? And even now, like, I mean, I've been walking with Jesus since 2019. I still prefer, you know,
the dark.
the darker thing, like
Yeah.
darker things. Like,
Dark
I'm
humor, dark
still
everything.
right. Like, I'm
Right.
still kind of that person, but just not that
You know,
person. I don't know
I,
how to explain it. Like,
no, and listen, there's a couple things I would love to say here. If, just if you have questions, just stop me. So my whole life, and it took me up until like maybe 5 years ago to really realize this. Every generation in my family has known have witches. Every one of them, some sort
hmm,
of witchcraft, some sort of this. Their last name literally means blazing witch. And I
that's
don't
crazy.
always like giving this. And some of the uncles and aunts will be like, no, that means we burnt witches. And no, it means blazing witches. I have looked this up. And so every generation, including after me, has been drawn by witchcraft, whether it's crystals, divination, tarot cards, you name it, necromancy, whatever it may be, casting, Wicca. We could go through all of it. Santa
Hmm.
Maria, you name it. It has touched my family in some way, shape, or form. Um, and this goes the whole way through my bloodline. So I do believe there are bloodlines that have it worked into them. I absolutely
Hmm.
do. And that could be from the fallen, it could be from all these different things. And, I want everybody listening to know that I'm not giving glory to the dark at all. I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm glorifying the dark. God is omnipotent. He is the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. He is the Most High. There is no one above him. He has omnipotency. He's full power. So, with this, as we're talking, if this is triggering you, you're more than welcome to ask comments, whatever, or ask in the comments what's going
Hmm.
on. I'll always try to respond if I see it, stuff like that. And
Does that happen a lot with your content? Do you get like a lot of people that are
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So
like
like
what would be a trigger? Is it, you mean just like Christians? It's the Christians, isn't it?
Christians get triggered negatively, right? And then there
It's
are
the
some
Christians.
people who are coming out of the trauma of witchcraft.
Yeah.
And there is some very deep trauma. Coming into this, I almost had a feeling to text you and be like, just hit me with a random time that day, and I will make it a point to try to come on the podcast because I didn't want to give Satan a moment more to prolong. Because I know there's somebody that needs to hear this information through your podcast.
I'm actually gonna. It's so funny because you said that to me like because we had to reschedule some things because I had some personal stuff come up,
We Yeah, we did too.
and then I was just like, okay, like when I texted you, I was like, let's just go. Like, I
Let's
feel
just
like
go.
God is just ready.
Yep.
But also it's crazy because I recorded last week with Bo Kennedy, and I told him that I was gonna put it this. So I'm actually gonna drop this one first. So sorry, Bo, you have to wait a week because God
That's
said so.
Oh, I'm
Like, I
sorry. I'm
just
not trying to do
no,
that.
I really feel like because we've been talking about this, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, no. I mean, I was like, we have to get this. This is, you feel really, really called to like get this out. So
Well,
yeah.
and so this happens every so often, and it's usually when there's somebody that needs to come out of the dark. And when I say the dark, I mean Satan's grasp. That's really what I'm saying.
Hmm.
And my son randomly came down sick. He was horrifically vomiting. We're like, what is going on? I woke up on my couch. I looked out my window. I seen pentagram in the tree. The way the sticks. Did
It's
you see that?
crazy. Yeah, that was
It,
crazy.
that was crazy. And then I put in the one group chat we're in of the Fringe, the Fellowship of the Fringe. All of us are in there. And, as soon as Shelly prayed, which was one of the members, she's, off another
Mm-hmm.
podcast. Fantastic. But once they prayed, immediately my wife, and she didn't hear the prayer. I read it in my mind, and I'm not making this up. I have no reason to do any of these stories and make any of this up.
No, you don't have to quantify that either. Don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
No.
but I always, TikTok, everybody's like, "Oh, you're just making this." I'm not. This is
Oh,
real.
yeah.
I have no reason to lie. We're not making millions of dollars from this. So,
And I don't
not
produce anything on TikTok, so that's a whole
there you
different
go. So
audience.
I'm dealing with a very critical
You
audience. So
are. Yeah.
these people are nuts. Anyways, but no, she goes, "Look, there's a red cardinal out the window." And I said, "What?" And it's
Yeah.
right in the same spot of where that pentagram was. And
This
literally, it was nuts.
this picture, guys, like literally this picture, it's not even, I know a lot of you are going to be like, oh, because I always question with Bigfoot, with like the tree structures and stuff like that. And I've tried to have like a couple guys come on to talk about that because I'm always leery about those things
Yeah, me
where I'm
too.
like, oh, that could have been that. That could have been that. There was no way that
No
like
way.
birds knocked into these little branches and made these little pentagram. Like it was just
No
it
way.
was insane. Like
It was insane.
I don't even know if I want to post it. It's up to you,
Post
but
it
I could
because
post it at some point. But like it was crazy because I was like, yeah, no, that's very, you could like trace it.
you could trace it, you can
Yeah.
see it. And I took multiple pictures because I'm like, am I insane? And I don't like doing this because anytime I do this type of stuff, you get fanatical Christians who are like above, they're so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good, is what I always say.
But yeah,
And
we say that around my church all the time.
there
Yeah.
you go. You
Yeah.
gotta be here. Jesus was a
Yeah.
carpenter for the majority of his life. He worked with the blue collar people, right? And he only did, yeah, he did ministry 3 years before the religious were like, get rid of this man, get him gone. It's wild when you
He knew
really,
everything about like hurry up and wait because
yeah,
he worked construction.
he did, my man. And he worked with the rough and tough people. So
Right.
like, you got to be realistic whenever you're dealing with Christianity, even though there's supernatural items. And I think that's the best part about coming out of the witchcraft is we
Yeah.
see patterns, we see things that other Christians and it's not really real until you understand there's always a twist and a turn for you. There's something going on working against you or for you at all times.
So I think my question, so for me at least, like, so I don't really know a lot about like your story of it, like, because you
Okay.
said when you were younger.
Yeah.
I want you to get into that, but like, I guess my question is like, when do you think like, okay, I'm totally like just making a mountain out of a molehill, like, when, like, am I freaking myself out, am I getting superstitious? Because I do that a lot with
Yeah.
signs and things like that. Again, with the owl, the conversation that I had with Bo Kennedy, we talked about owls, and then like literally Friday night when my mother was
You heard
here,
the owl.
the owl was there, and I
Let me
was like,
just tell you.
what's up with the owl?
Yeah. Yep.
Like,
That's wild because I don't
yeah.
talk to too many people that know about the owl lore.
Mhm.
And so here's the main lore that I grew up with. My
The
mom
owls are
again
not what they
came,
seem.
no, and when you hear an owl at night, that represents death, right? And that's what I was always taught. When you hear whoo
Mm.
whoo in the trees at night, and I have a recent story with this. And so this is the thing. All of nature is connected. And I don't think Christians want to hear this. I will not kill things. I will not smash spiders. I will save them. I will release them. And, I test this in everybody's life that I know has turmoil. They do not take care of the creatures around them. They may take care of their dog, but
Mm.
creatures that are just existing, they'll smash, they'll do all these things. And there's this wicked tendency that they have just to hurt things, just to hurt them, just because they have that dominion. And that usually reflects on them. So all nature is connected. And if you don't believe this, go learn about trees and their sequences with one another. Go learn
Yeah.
about crows and their friendships that reach thousands of miles. It's wild stuff.
And we can make friends with crows.
I love crows. I
I do
used to have
too.
3 crows. Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
have 3 crows that would visit me every day at my work, and I would call them
So cool.
Mo, Larry, and Curly. I think the
Yeah.
3
Three
Stooges.
Stooges.
But I would throw them bread, and they would be there every day to the point of where they were bringing gifts. And I miss those guys.
Aw.
I look forward to seeing them. But
Yeah, right.
there's lore between all these birds, even cardinals. I mean, and in that we talked about the blood of Christ as a representation. The Catholic Church is one of their highest positions is a cardinal. So
Yeah.
there's reasons for all that. The blood of Christ is what they represent because they're bright red. And, so with the owls, I have a crazy story if you got a minute for this.
Yeah, I want to hear it because that was like, ugh, that it was so crazy. It was just wild. I couldn't believe that I heard that owl again, and I'm documenting when I hear it
Yes.
because
Yep.
there's been a couple times. I think I told you guys after we did a fellowship at the Fringe, like a really good conversation. It appeared. My husband and I were outside having a fire, and it was there, and it was huge. It was like a huge barred owl. And
Wow. So
then
big guy.
the other day, it was like my mom was here. We were talking about some really heavy stuff going on in my family, and we were outside, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, the owl!" Like, so. Anyway, yeah, I want to hear what's owl lore that you know of.
So this has only been told here so far. I've never shared this with anybody. Buckle up. This is a wild story.
I'm ready.
So this was probably October last year, and I get products off TikTok. We had night vision, and me and the wife hear an owl in the tree, and it's going hoo hoo, and we're looking with the night vision. We're looking, and she goes outside. She sees a deer, has this weird encounter. All these different things happen with her outside. She's like, "That was a crazy experience," but I think the owl flew away. So this must have been October because they have a cul-de-sac party during Halloween. We don't host it, but we go to it. And so we went over. Nobody dresses up. I don't celebrate any of this. We just hang out with our neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And she's talking to one of our neighbors. I'm not going to give any names. She's talking to one of our neighbors to protect that family. And she said, "Oh, yeah, I've been sitting there listening to that owl for weeks now." And she goes, "Nobody else hears it." But she goes, "It's so strange that you heard it." And I'm like, this is really, really creepy. And I asked the other neighbors because I'm like, anyone hear this? And, our one neighbor's outside constantly at night. He's
Mm-hmm.
having fires, having parties, whatever. And
Yeah.
he goes, "No, I've never heard him before. Never heard him." And I was like, that's really strange. Okay. So this is October. Christmas rolls around. And the lady that I was talking to that heard the owl constantly, and she goes, "It's driving me nuts. It's almost waking me up at night." And this is where people go. Is this coincidence? Is this overdoing it? Is it looking for a devil under every rock? Her husband executed her and then executed himself
What?
in a few months later. I'm not giving exact dates, nothing, because I don't want anybody
Gosh, that's
researching this. This
crazy.
is next door to me, and it's right before Christmas. This was wild. This was crazy. So, me and my wife are shocked. We are shocked. And the whole cul-de-sac, the whole neighborhood, she was a big name, different things in the area.
Awful.
It's absolutely terrible. They were fantastic people. But this was probably 2 or 3 days, or maybe even the next day. I don't remember because I didn't chart it or anything because I was just so perplexed. They posted on Facebook down by the fire hall, and they said, "Look at this dead owl, this beautiful dead owl." And it was dead right in front of the firehouse, which is linked to them.
What?
So I was like, "Are
Oh, I
you
just got
kidding me?"
chills,
Right?
Jesse.
And
Oh.
well, listen, and I'm not making any of this up. I could tell a story forwards, backwards, up, down, left, right, whatever you want. Whenever we were listening for that owl in the upcoming months, we've heard nothing. There has been no owl since then.
That's
Insane.
crazy.
So people, Christians got to understand God used birds. He used them on the ark. There were signals always sent. The dove flew up after Jesus came out of being baptized. There are bird representations all throughout the Bible. And here's the part for me. When Christians start getting really strange with this stuff is when they say stuff out of place, right? This stuff doesn't belong here. Like, "Oh my God, I seen a cloud and it looked like a dagger." So that's what, it just doesn't make
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
It's out of place. But when this stuff holds value, ancient value, and you can link it this way, it has a whole different meaning. It has meaning, it has purpose, and it has a presence to it. And what was that? Was it a harbinger of death? Was it a coincidence, or was that some warning we were ignoring? But I know when I hear an owl, the
Yeah.
representation, and it's held my whole life. It has held. My mom would say if a bird flies into your window or door, that's a representation of a warning. So always be aware of that. There's different stuff like that with birds, and transitions, all these different things. Woodpeckers have different meanings if they peck on your house, stuff like that.
What do you think the warning is? Like if a bird flies into your house, like,
So that's another representation of a harbinger of death or a
mm,
warning of sickness. And that's what those
warning of
beliefs are.
sickness.
Yeah,
Okay.
warning of
Hmm.
sickness. If they fly into your windows and die, again, that's the same sort of thing. And that sounds very witchy. That sounds very off base. But these things are linked to different items. You don't know what sends that. We're not linked. We're humans. We literally put rubber on
Yeah.
our feet to disconnect us from the earth. So we don't know. You know, I just, as a Christian, and I was a minister 15 years, we didn't even get there, right? So I was an
I
assembly
know.
minister. We didn't even get there yet. And, I am the first person to run away from fanatical Christians. So the ones that you can't talk to and you can't have a conversation with. And unless you follow God the way they want you to follow God, you're off base, right? And that's not the God we serve. Jesus was there with the tax collectors, the prostitutes, the whores, essentially, all the
Mm-hmm.
broken, the ones that society, the Pharisees and Sadducees wouldn't even go near because they were too clean. That is not who we are supposed to be. We're supposed to be Jesus to these people, and
Yeah.
reach out where you're broken and meet you there.
Yeah. So why don't you take us back to that dream? Because I think that like people should hear that about that. And I've never heard that
You
dream that
never
you
heard?
had.
Okay,
No, yeah.
that's
So
fine.
take us there and then like kind of take us through like a little bit of like the occult stuff. Not like obviously ritual, but like
No,
if you
right,
feel
and I try to be
comfortable.
very careful.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
But so the dream I had, and I'll just tell it the way it happened.
And you were 13,
Yeah, I was
you
around
said?
13, that
Okay.
age. At this time, I wasn't charting because I had no idea the impact that it would have on my life, but I remember the dream.
Hmm.
So it became a major part of my testimony. So in that dream, as I was walking outside of high school with one of my friends, or school in general, it may not have been high school at that time, it was the school. So we were just walking out of that building and a beautiful car came down the street. And I looked at the car and I went to say, hey, look at that. It's beautiful. That's an awesome car. My friend wasn't my friend no more. It was a dark figure. And this dream is as real as we're talking. And,
Hmm.
at this time, market, I was not a Christian, didn't understand any of this stuff. I just knew what I knew through practicing and playing with witchcraft and all that stuff, Dungeons and Dragons. And, that dark figure said, before you get to God, I'll tear you, your family, and your friends apart. That was the end of the dream. I woke up and it was like a cold sweat wake up. I was like a fever dream almost, right? And
Wow.
you're like, did that really happen? What was that? And I had no background in Christianity. So, I mean, we were Christian and Easter Catholics, if we would ever even
Yeah,
go.
same.
So, from that point forward, I was like, well, what the heck did it mean before I get to God? It'll tear me. It made a declaration directly against me and my bloodline, my lineage, all of it. And with that happening, I started researching Christianity. I started researching, and I was talking about this earlier, the Muslim faith, the Quran. I started researching Buddhism, all of it, Hare Krishna, all of them. I tried to learn as much as I could. And the one I kept coming back to was Christianity because there was no sort of finding wrongs or breakdowns. Even the ones I heard didn't make much sense. Well, it has spelling errors. I can't spell worth anything. So I was like,
Right.
that's not a big deal. I relate with that. And, punctuation errors. And, this king may have been this old and not this old. I'm like, this is really what we're saying. But I seen the patterns when I was studying the Bible versus the patterns of, the Quran and Buddhism. There's very unique things in each one of them. But Jesus was the deciding factor for me because he said God. He didn't say any specific. He said God. He made it known. And I'm just saying this now and it's making sense. He said God. So before you get to God, he didn't say before you get to Jesus. He said before you get to God, I'll tear you, your family, and your friends apart. And I
Hmm.
had no idea what that meant at that time. So it just pushed me into God's kingdom. That's ultimately what he did there. And I don't know if the thing knew that, if it was going to do that to me, but it was a big dark figure. I'll never forget it. And it was just as real as me and you sitting here talking. So that's where my journey began. And it wasn't long after that I learned I had a gift to public speak. It wasn't something that I practiced that. It just came naturally. And by that, it led me into fine arts. It led me into the church. It led me into all these things, Bible club. And it just kept me on the path of wanting to be a pastor. And God's always dealt with me very differently since those points. But I grew up in a very ritualistic style mindset as far as witchcraft goes and the patterns go. And, even though you're separating from that stuff, it still holds on to you. And that's what I experienced throughout the whole walk with Jesus. Is this stuff would reappear whenever you get sort of not bored with Christianity, but let's be honest, we all sort of get unenchanted with it.
Yeah,
It
we talk about that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just becomes a natural process of your journey. I mean, you just get to a place where you're like, okay, I'm just going to live, and what happens, happens, that sort of thing. And then there's moments of clarity and absolutes. And then there's moments of sadness and brokenness, and it feels like you're alone in all of it.
Hmm.
So we have all those sections, but these things have attached to my bloodlines, and I have stories about breaking them, breaking generational curses. It just goes on and on and on. And God told me a few years ago to start keeping track, start writing down everything that I'm doing in your life, from what I'm telling you to who you're dealing with to whatever spirit's speaking to you. Write it down, and I'm going to take care of it all. And I want you to see it. So I did that. I call it the Book of Whispers. So
That's
that,
cool.
yeah, I have it, and I keep it with all. It's always on me, and
Nice.
I record everything that God has done. Or if I hear something spoken to me, I have crazy stories in there or encounters of demons. I have them in there. Um, I'll never drink another Monster Energy drink. I'm very careful as a Christian what I do.
Why?
I have
What happened?
listen, man. So my son, he's adopted, and for years it was always me that couldn't have kids, and we've been married 20 years, going on 20 years, and it's always been a struggle in that way. We always wanted kids, and we have an awesome son now, but we did foster care, did that whole thing. And through that, God showed me that he was breaking the bloodline curse on my family. He was
Hmm.
grafting in a child, right? But not with my blood. Does this make sense? I don't want
Yeah.
to seem so crazy. And if you don't understand bloodlines, go read about Jesus and read about the encounters with the Nephilim with his whole bloodline. And I believe God did that on purpose. So the bloodline that I have would be broken. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But, coming out of this, God has taken me to all these different paths and done some crazy stuff with this. And, I always can have these conversations with atheists, with witches, and
Hmm.
be able to, be like, look at God. You don't need rocks. You don't need tarot cards. You don't need to know your future if you just put all that in the hands of God. And I think people forget that. You're worshiping stars and stuff.
I
There's
think
nothing there for you.
I think the thing is, like, for me, at least in my experience, knowing a lot of the people that I know and knowing what I came out of personally, it's because, and I say this a little bit more like often and boldly, is that I was sold like a really bad characterization of who God was.
Yeah, right.
And that's the problem. And I think that, again, that makes us not want to be so legalistic and religious
Right.
because I never, like, one of the best prayers I ever have heard someone say is, God, let me not be the like a bad representation of who you are, and
Amen.
let someone not lose faith in you because of the way that I've presented you. That happens all the time. And I think that now, like, God, Jesus's character, people are like, yeah, I can get down with Jesus, but I can't get down with God because they don't understand. Like, now it's like this whole big crazy characterization because people, I think at the end of the day, and this is my experience for sure, is you want to have that control. Because when I was little and I was trying to like make sense of my world, we didn't have like a lot of religion. We didn't go to church. We didn't have spirituality. It was just go to church and pray
Absolutely.
and God's going to fix it. But no one explained that God's not going to fix it the way that you want it to be fixed. You know, and I had a lot of crazy spiritual attacks when I was a young girl, and, you know, shadow people and all that stuff.
I
But that
dealt with shadow people.
I think a lot of that comes from trauma. I
Yeah.
really, really do. I
The
think it
Hat Man.
comes from, oh yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you dealt with the Hat Man?
No, I've dealt with a shadow figure though. So,
Wow.
but I
Interesting.
want to hear your Hat Man story, because the Hat
Did I
Man,
go?
no,
Okay,
you didn't tell me yet.
okay.
But what I'm saying is, like, I think that I'm getting I think that God is really just kind of softening my heart in this podcast, because for a while I was really just getting like super religious with stuff, but now I'm just kind of like, I don't really blame people for still staying in the tarot cards, because it's
No.
safe.
Yeah,
It's
it's
safe and I
something.
can control it. The
Right?
rocks, you know, they make me feel better and I can control it. And I'm not going to get hurt, because I know a ton of people who have been hurt by not just Christian churches, but a lot of other, I don't even want to say denominations, but like, you know, other stuff,
Right.
LDS, all the
Oh
other
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, people are really Jehovah's Witnesses. I know a lot of people that have come out of stuff that are just like, holy crap.
Well,
Like,
there's a lot
I
of
don't
damage.
want any of your religion. If it's
Right.
your God, I don't want that. I would rather worship the moon, because it
Right.
makes, and I get it, because there's a lot of hurt and anger. So if you were not presented with a forgiving, loving God, because that's his character and he's so amazing.
Yes, he is.
So for me,
Oh,
what
okay.
I understand is those people, they need to experience the Lord. They need an experiential time. And usually, at least in the stories I've heard and in my own personal experience, you're not going to get it until you're like on your knees and you're
Right.
asking for it. Like,
Right.
that's what happened to me. That's my testimony. It was
That's
a dark and stormy night. I'm not even
dark.
kidding,
It's
guys. I'm
thundering
not
here
even
as we
kidding.
speak.
It legit was a dark and stormy night. And I was in my mudroom and I was drunk and I was like done with everything. I was a mess. I was like postpartum. My audience knows this by now, but like I was a total mess and a train wreck, and nothing worked. And I went in my mudroom and I got down on my knees and I said, I don't know who you are or what you are or if you exist, if
Man.
it's angels, who am I talking to? But I need you. I can't do this on my own anymore. I cannot sit and, you know, drink a bunch of wine and look at tarot cards,
Anymore.
you know, and it not work anymore.
Isn't that
And
amazing?
listen to Lorena McKenna, although I still listen to her. I love her. But
It's
it's funny
fun.
because what I did, I would just do the same, like the witchy stuff that I would do. I still do, but it's like, it's for Jesus instead of myself. Like I would sage my kitchen and create atmosphere,
Right?
and then the shadow man would be there and I would be like, I can feel you. I know you. You're not welcome here. I'm protecting my family with the sage.
Jeez.
And they were like, okay, look, isn't she cute?
She's like, don't she know we like the smell of that?
Like nothing. You did nothing into the supernatural or the spiritual because
Oh,
you have no authority.
right?
But you
And
think you do,
you
because you
think
think
you
you
do.
have the power
We
and
talked
because
about
it
the
feels
seat.
safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, man. And,
It
fighting
feels
fire with
safe.
fire, it doesn't lead to anything but damage.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no healing in that. It's only damage. I don't know. For me, what I've learned over all the years of being a Christian, and maybe you never seen this or heard this perspective, but it was just a realization. I was dealing with someone, I forget if he was a friend, but I was sitting there, we were having a conversation about God, and it was just a random person in the church, I think. And we were just talking, and this thought just stayed with me. Don't really remember the experience all that much. But God in that moment was whatever we were talking about, he said, He's viewing me the way He views His Father. And I'm like,
Mm.
what? So it led to a deeper thought process. And we really, before we have a true relationship with God, if your father's distant, you'll view God as distant. If your father's abusive and angry, that's how your relationship with God, you'll view it. That's why it's so important to have a good father
Mm,
and it's a spiritual lead, right? There's a reason that it was set up that way. And if your grandparents, your father figure, and he was always loving and caring and all these things, you naturally will think God's that way. If your
right.
dad was funny, you'll get a sense of humor going into that relationship. But there are so many people without dads, without, distant fathers, fathers that never showed them love. And that translates into how they view their beginning or how God is with them. You ever realize that?
Yeah,
It's
I
why.
mean, that makes just too much sense.
It's
Like,
bizarre, right?
yeah,
Because is
yeah,
that how you view God before you went in, to a real
yeah.
relationship?
So
Like,
I definitely felt like I didn't have the concept of a relational God, that you could have a relationship with God. I had a
yeah,
concept of you went to a Catholic church, you prayed to the all the things,
all the
and
things, hopefully.
then maybe if you were lucky he would answer your prayers. And in
Right.
my experience, because I was going through so much deep stuff that I was really praying for, like, will my parents stay together? Will we, what, all the stuff, make
Yeah,
them stop fighting. Like, it
yeah,
was just so much trauma,
right.
and it didn't happen. And so it was just one of those things where I was just like, okay, well, no, you're not there because you weren't there then. But I didn't have anybody coming alongside of me and saying, like, I mean, I had my Nana, but it wasn't like something that it was really, I don't know. It wasn't really explain when you're 7 and you're traumatized like that and you're dealing
There's
with all
nothing.
kinds of crap, like, you're
Yeah,
just that broken so then that brokenness is just like, "Okay, well, you allowed me to do this." And the problem is, like, back in those days, there was no kids' church. Like,
no,
you went and sat and you went to church with your parents, and
that's
then
it.
you would be sitting there broken and terrible, this little, like, kid, and then, the priest would just be talking about how God died, like, Jesus died for your sins. Hi, I don't understand what that means,
No,
and I didn't do anything. So it's like I get guilt at home and then I get guilt at church. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just until it's actually, and that was just, but then again, that's a seed that was planted, right? That under, that was just a total seed that was planted. So that's like a big part of my story, is that how that, you know, little ones just don't understand things, and they see your encounters with God, like, through you.
right,
So the parents are the ones that are representing who God is to them, or, showing them faith, showing them what it is. And it wasn't like, wow, God's really going to heal this, or wow, it was just like, we're both so broken and traumatized, we can't even, you know, get it together.
right. Which is
So,
wild, and it's
yeah.
sad.
It is. And
It's
I'm sure
sad.
there's a lot of people, like, that's why people turn to the occult. So of
That's right.
course, it
It's
really
empowering,
it
right?
is very empowering, and I
Yep.
completely 100% understand. That's why I love that we turn the conversation to this re-enchanting
Right.
idea,
Yeah.
because people are not going to go to church. I could sit there and I can invite 1,000 people to church, all of my friends that are in the occult, or, whatever. They're not going to go because they're going to think that it's like that experience that I got. Like, oh, or I went to this one church and it was really weird, or, whatever. I mean, sometimes church is weird. It's just it's a bunch of
Depending.
it's a bunch of
Pentecostal.
broken just a bunch of broken people trying to
It
have an
is.
encounter with God. I mean,
Well,
it
right.
really, really is.
And, I understand the
You know?
humanism behind it all. I really
Yeah.
do. I
Oh,
really
yeah.
do. And, the compassion and empathy are so important to have. And, for a long time, because I was a minister, brick and mortar, I did youth ministry, every type of ministry, children's ministry. I was a worship leader. I led the
Yeah.
worship ministry. I did lead pastoring, stand in pastoring, all of it. I did it all, evangelizing, whatever, missionary, you name it, we did it. And the bureaucracy and really the politics are what jaded me towards not all churches are that way,
Yeah.
but every church I was with, there was a power struggle. There was the
Yes.
boards that would struggle. We got to count the numbers. Hey, make sure the worship team hits A minor correctly because they screwed that up. And we're having meetings about this when we know all the non-Christians are across the way at Giant Eagle because Sunday Christians are naturally in church. What are we doing? And God just started taking me away from that a lot. He said, I'm going to shift your ministry. It's not going to be like a normal ministry, and we're going to go into these places. So at the very beginning of that, I was bitter, and God had to really handle that in a very unique way with me through just being patient with
Hmm.
me and allowing me to go through that journey. And he did. And not once did he make a fool of any of that with me. And he could have brought me out to the light, beat me and stoned me, but he had grace and mercy through all that and allowed me to work with that. And
Yeah.
that's the beautiful part about coming to God is he's not going to air out all of your dirty laundry. He's not going to beat you in the streets, nothing like that. He wants you to leave those things behind, and that bitterness and the anger you have towards him or his people or the things you screwed up or the things they screwed up for you and whoever you're blaming. He wants to handle that. And he has a beautiful way to do it. Sometimes he just lets you go through it. And he did.
Yeah.
And like, working through your stuff is so awesome. It's much easier to do with God.
It
And
is.
that's what I found.
And unfortunately, I think that's just it. Like we're in this kind of, we talked about this in Fellowship of the Fringe, where I can't remember the guy's name. Josh Nadell was saying that we're in this pre-Christian world. We're kind
Right.
of back to the pre-Christian, like we're just a bunch of St. Patrick's, like in Ireland, like beating snakes away.
Yeah,
Which I
chasing the
love that.
snakes.
I 100% love that imagery because I think Ireland is probably the most magical place ever, and I can't wait to go.
I've
But like,
never been to Italy.
we're kind
No.
of here.
Yeah.
I know I've never been to Italy.
No.
Oh my gosh, I saw. Oh, this is now we're gonna go down a side trail, but like one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time is this video, and it's these guys that are like in their driveway, and they're like, we can't afford a trip to Italy, so we're just gonna pretend in our driveway. And they literally have like a little table, and they have like a little like white tablecloth, and they're drinking wine, and they're like hand rolling cigarettes, and they're like feeding a dog sausage. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Italy.
That's Italy.
If you
No,
wouldn't have said that's not Italy, I would have been like, anyway,
that's
I digress.
hilarious.
It's the funniest video ever. It's probably on TikTok, and it made its way to
I'll have
Instagram.
to check that
Like
out.
all good things.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
no.
TikTok's the first stop.
Exactly. And then we just like regram everything
Hey,
on
it's going down
whatever.
now.
I know. But no, that's like, I don't know, that's just the whole thing is I think that what people just don't see in all of that. Like we're just kind of getting back into this re-enchanting, this like where everything is just so weird
It's
and
weird.
everything is just magical.
Yeah.
But now I think we have this opportunity to really authentically show God,
Right.
like the really true characteristic of God. Like I think it's kind of just been tasked to our generation, to this generation, where
Right.
it's like, look, the weird 80s stuff is gone.
Right.
We get it. Like
Hallelujah.
everything got really weird for
Got
a
really
long
weird.
time.
A lot of people dancing around and doing weird things.
We went from like really murdering a whole bunch of people because we thought they were witches, even though, I mean, the devil didn't really need a lot of help with that because
No.
I have a lot of, I don't know. I'm just like, really, something was going on there that
There was a lot more
there
to
was a
that.
lot more going on there. But so then it's like this whole big claim against superstition. Remember like the 1700s, like, oh, we're not superstitious anymore. Like here we are. Like, and now we're just in this like postmodern society of everything is disgustingly gross. I literally went to my post office box today, which is in a really beautiful place in Maryland. And I specifically put it out there. Like, I really feel like I'm pretty sure God told me to do it. But like, it was like I had to choose somewhere to go. And it was just like, oh, Hides was highlighted to me. And it's a beautiful place. And I leave my little city and I drive out there and I pick up the stuff. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, literally just driving out of the city.
Right.
Completely changed the atmosphere of my heart.
Yep. Listen,
It was
I've been
just
to New York.
crazy.
I'm good. That place is a trash bag. I'm
Oh
sorry
my
if you live in
gosh,
New
I
York.
know. I
If
know.
if there's this place where you just throw trash outside all day, every day, and there's rats the size of my 30-pound dog running around,
Well, that's Baltimore. So
or
I live in Baltimore. So.
listen, I'm in Pittsburgh. I
Oh
mean, the
my
most we
gosh.
have are just crazy people running around, maybe chasing your hair. It's a good city, but it's
Do
a
you
boring city.
realize this? Only God. All right. I don't know who's going to get this reference out there, but
Uh,
only God would put together a
oh,
Baltimore person.
and a Pittsburgh
I
person.
could
Never
care
thought
less. I really don't care.
I don't care at all about
That's why we
sports.
don't care. See, look at that.
But you know
See,
what? Listen, my one
eyes on the prize.
he was a Baltimore Ravens fan. His whole family, he was from Baltimore,
Yeah.
and so it's not that far fetched. I served under him, and at that time, I really liked the New England Patriots. I don't really do football anymore,
No.
so but Pittsburgh Steelers, that's the way to go, I guess.
So funny. No, I don't care.
That's wild. I don't care at
It's
all.
so funny because like any other, I guess, like arena of conversation, if we were like in a bar, we would be
This
like,
would, yeah.
"Ugh,
Get
stupid
out of
idiot,
here. Yeah,
get out
that's
of here,
exactly
Drew
loser.
Roethlisberger." I don't
Right?
know,
You
whatever.
Roethlisberger. You knew. See, you know.
I know
That's
because I
exactly
hear
right.
my mother making fun of him, and this
Yeah.
is for my
Okay.
mom. Yeah,
Yeah. Pump fake.
right.
There's a
Exactly. Wait
soapbox.
till I tell her that I had a guy on from
Funny.
Pittsburgh. That's the first thing. If I said that, if I led with that, like, oh, I
Yeah.
had this guy on my podcast from Pittsburgh, she would have been like, oh my god. Yeah.
Well, listen. At least we won 6, right? So I mean, what
I
can
don't know what that
Baltimore say?
means,
No,
but
I'm
sounds
joking.
like
Yeah.
witchcraft. No, I'm just
No.
kidding.
Yeah. Maybe 7. Not now. Joking. No, but it's interesting how God interworks and intertwines everything, and you know, I don't know how to say this, but it's so unique whenever you encounter people from different places that otherwise you never encounter.
I
And to
know.
me, it's so unique. It's unlike any other faction, I think.
And that's what I think is happening here. And that I got this sense when I started doing this podcast where I was like, we're doing this wrong. Like we're totally doing this the wrong way. We're all getting on the podcast and we're all talking about, like, I do want you to tell your Hatman story, by the way.
Oh
But
yeah,
like, you know what I
remind me.
mean?
I'll mark.
It's like everyone wants to hear about like this spooky thing and that spooky thing. Like I talked to Bo Kennedy and I was like, I'm tired of you being the Lilith guy. Like, I don't want to talk about Lilith, but then we ended up talking about it. But it's like, you know what I mean? We get in these little like niches and we just want to talk
Yeah,
about the dog man and the spooky stuff. And
right.
I feel like there's such a bigger call.
There
Like
is.
God's got us doing this for a better reason than
Well,
just like talking about the creepy stuff, because the creepy stuff is happening and
yeah,
we're seeing it happen
yep,
much more.
much more.
All of this stuff is proof. Like, I don't really need to have any more research or anything like that to
No,
prove it to anybody. Like, we
no,
can all see that the veil is like
thinning.
insanely thin.
Yeah,
Like, I don't have to read a Goosebumps book or go to the library and look
real
up.
stuff. Drink a Monster, read some.
But you know what I mean? Like, remember it used to be like that's how it was. We would go and like creep ourselves out. But now I
Yeah,
don't need to do that anymore because literally
it's
people
always
are
creepy.
seeing it
Yeah, no, it's
happen.
true. And I'm cracking jokes, but I'm dead
Well,
serious.
no, welcome. That's what we do here. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Right. But so, any of these stories with the Hat Man, anything like that, and if you have direct questions, feel free to ask them. I love answering any of these things.
No, I don't
Um,
have any. I
uh,
mean, I will as they come. But I just want, if you have, so you just mentioned that you had a Hat Man encounter, and I've never seen a Hat Man, but I have seen an entity, like
right.
a thing.
The dark. How big was that thing?
So it was really crazy because it was always,
Thunder?
yeah.
What's it
Thunder.
really?
No, it's funny because I spent a lot of time like early on in this podcast, like going on other podcasts and explaining this. So the way that I would explain it is it was not like an actual like cut out blob of black. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it was more of a presence.
right.
And I could feel the presence.
I
And
know. Listen, I know what that means.
because the atmosphere in my
Yeah.
house was just like, hello.
Twisted.
Correct. Like, just please come and be a part of this. And so that was more of it for me, was the presence. And it was crazy because I would be in my kitchen,
Mhm.
and because the kitchen is the heart of your house, like a wife is the heart of her house. Like that's what I was doing, is literally I mean, that's witchcraft. I think that we never really define our terms of witchcraft anymore because people think that like, oh, I'm just Harry Potter flipendo, and that's, you know what I mean? Like they don't
Yeah, no,
understand that
the
it's
depth.
it's the position and the posture of your heart, and it's your intention. And I feel like we get away from that word intention as Christians. We don't want to say intention, but it's all about your intention.
It's all about your intention.
And my intention was that I am the spiritual leader of this house. I am in control of all this, you know. I would welcome spirits in because I was an empath,
Yeah, right.
you know. So I'm jetting all around all Gettysburg everywhere, just being like, hello, come. Do you want to cross over? Like not knowing what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
Gee, no wonder you have hitchhikers coming to your house and God only knows what, you know. So I have to like, I mean, that was just crazy. But it was more of the atmosphere that I was also creating and participating in too, because it didn't take much,
No, not at all.
you know.
And it's really unique because Christians are like, ah, we don't understand that. You can feel God's presence, can you not, when
Yeah.
you're in
So
Sunday
what
morning
do you,
worship?
so then you can definitely feel the opposite.
Correct. And,
Yep.
again, atmosphere changes. People describe them as like the room goes dark even though it's lit. And,
Yes.
the goosebumps, that's a frequency response, that's an energy response. When you realize something and it hits you different, you get those goosebumps. Or, if something's there, it sucks the heat out of the room. That's an energy source. So it's pulling. And this isn't just like paranormal investigation. This is stuff that has been known for years. You can literally go and read grimoires, and they'll explain the atmospheric change that will happen when certain beings come. That's
Yeah.
how you know you're in their presence. And
That's crazy that you bring that up because I used to read that stuff all the
right,
time.
it's wild. It is
The
wild.
stuff that I used to read that I actually got really heavily rebuked about that like not too long ago. Yeah, because I used to read all that stuff just to like, and I would
Just to
read
explore and
and I
learn.
would write it down and I would know like, oh, this demon or this thing or whatever, I can call on this deity.
That's
It was
right.
all about the deities. So
That's
I'd
right.
have like, so that book that you have, I would have like a little spell book that I would make and just write down all my little things. And then
Yeah,
it was like my own practice, and I could go through, and it's like, this is the legacy I'm going to leave my grandchildren. Like, oh
that's
my
right. Yeah.
gosh.
But
But the
how
crazy
twisted
thing
you
is,
get, right?
it is because you're doing it on your own, and that's fine until it doesn't work, and
Yep.
then
Oh man.
it's just crazy. But like, so the thing is, like, I had this experience where I had to clean out this house. Long story short, like I've shared this before, but like basically I found a bunch of, it was right before or right when I first started the podcast,
Yeah.
and I found a bunch of witchcraft, like old witchcraft stuff. And I was doing legit research for a prayer group. Um, and they wanted specific research on something. And so I found this book, and it had exactly the names of what I needed.
Wow.
And I took a
Isn't that
picture of it. Huh?
that's interesting.
So I took a picture of it. I didn't take it because I was like, I'm not going to take anything, right? So I don't want to take anything from here and then bring it into my home. So I'm just going to take a picture of it. And so then I went home. I was going home. It takes me about like 40 minutes from this place to get to my house. So I'm on the way home, and halfway through getting home, I start feeling really sick.
Oh
And
no.
I'm like, oh, what is this? And so like, I know now that that is like God being like, it's the Holy Spirit being like, nope,
Yep.
you're doing something wrong.
Right.
And so I got home and I was like, okay, what is this? Like, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I feel awful. And I was like, okay, Holy Spirit, like, what's going on here? And I got a picture in my mind of the picture that I took. And so I went through my phone, and it was like, so this is the crazy stuff, right? When you try to like tell people this stuff, like,
Yeah,
because it
this is the
doesn't,
crazy stuff.
there's no way to like make it
No.
make sense.
And they're like, "Oh, you're just being crazy." No, this
Because
happens to me constantly.
God didn't tell me, right? He didn't say like a Simpsons, like God coming down
Yeah,
from the
no.
cloud and saying, Christina, you did this. Like, it just became very aware. And in my spirit, I just heard him say, I took you out of that.
Get rid of.
You are not to go. You are not to go back there
Yeah.
for that information.
Right.
You come to my book. You
Right.
don't come to this book. Oh, I just like got
It
chills.
gave me
Ugh.
chills. Straight up gave me chills.
But the thing is, like, that might not be for that's for me. That might not be you. You might, if you're somebody out there, might be a demonologist, and God told you to go find all the demons
Explore and research,
and you might be really
and
good in
learn more.
deliverance.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
it was very, and so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, and deleted. Because it wasn't even, and then but do you see that? Like, that kind of brings us all back full circle, because it doesn't even matter, Jesse. It doesn't matter if it's the Monster Energy drink.
No.
It's the obedience of it.
That's right.
Like, I think that's just it.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't the book. Like,
No.
and that was, I'll say it now, it was the Satanic Bible.
Yeah.
Like, and
Well,
I'm thumbing through it, like,
they
just
have
like,
a lot of
look at,
information about what they believe
you know?
and what
And
they
so
call on.
I'm just like, I'm not going to take it. And I'm a born again, saved by the blood, baptized, Holy Spirit filled Christian, and my butt's over there looking through the Satanic Bible.
And what's really interesting, and so anytime I got to do research, I'm very cautious, because whenever I go into this stuff, and a lot of Christians, sort of snub off on this, and this is where like the witch culture gets it and everybody gets it. You are dealing with all these deities. You're dealing with all these different things, and it's sort of all universally accepted, like the universalist movement, all that. Let's all love one another, that sort of thing. But, the God of the Bible, Yahweh, Yeshua, however you want to pronunciate it, Jehovah Jireh, El Elyon, the Most High, all these names have representations.
Yeah.
And he sets himself on top of them all. And what everybody loses sight in is when Elijah was calling down fire and the prophets of Baal were over there, Elijah was mocking their God. He wasn't saying, your God's not real, you morons. He was mocking him. There is a full understanding that Baal, and I don't even like saying their names. I don't like giving them any glory. But when you look at Egyptian gods, God mocking them, and literally every plague was a mockery of their gods.
Right.
Just straight up mockery. God wants us not to ever return to Egypt. He never wants us to go back. And it's so important, because when you invest yourself into pages, when you invest yourself into practice, there's a piece of you that stays there, and God pulls you out of it, right? So it's so dangerous. And I've gotten rid of a lot of any of my writings, any of my jottings. It's all gone. And,
right. Because especially when you write stuff, oh my gosh.
You
and
put your
spell
imprint
work. Oh, spell work is just nothing. It's crazy to me, because like you're binding stuff.
You're
Like,
binding
I mean, I had
with your hands.
with your hand.
Yep.
And when
It's
I
your
was in that
signature.
moment, it was almost like when I was in the moment when I was like, what is it that you're showing me? It wasn't like I said, like he just came down and said, like, I told you not to do this. It was literally like a feeling of him
100%.
pulling me back out and being like, don't you remember this?
Don't you remember this? You don't
Do
want to
you
be
want to
here.
go back there?
Yes. Hold on 1 minute.
Oh, sure. Take a little break.
Well, I'm going to have to pick up those books. So,
Oh, did you drop?
whoops. So I'm a big leather-bound book, and so as a minister, I very rarely write notes. I always preach from whatever I was downloading, right? And as a Christian, something that God commanded me early on, and I am not a journaler. I do not read all the time. I could barely speak at most rates, but anytime I write my sermons that I would do on Sunday, I would bind them to a book. And so there was always something, and I didn't realize until just this moment talking about this, that's a practice that I carried over, that the enemy used for evil, that God has made for good. Because I go back and read through these, and there's some really practical messages and memories and healings that happened over those, and people encountering Christ and altars packed. And I can remember that anytime I go through these notes. And you can record it on CD, do all that stuff. But there's something about your handwriting, your imprint to it, your notes, the way you handle and dabble and your mind works. And I think that's so important. Christians miss that. You should be writing down your conversations anytime you have that.
Yeah, you should definitely be journaling. I
Absolutely.
mean, we're like in the Lamb's book of life. Like,
Right?
he writes us in.
Yes.
He's a creative guy.
Yeah.
Like, God is creative. He's writing your story. He's
Absolutely.
written your story.
And you're written
Yeah.
in. He writes you in.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. There's
I
something
think we
beautiful.
just don't it's again, like, I will never stop being amazed at how God is awesome.
It's
Like,
amazing.
and you don't have to be like, wearing a long jean skirt and, listening to whatever. Like, I was gonna say Creed, but now I love Creed. So,
Creed, 6 feet from the edge.
oh my God.
All
Have you seen every video
oh
about
my
that?
oh my
It's
goodness.
so stupid.
It's
I
stupid, but
follow
it's hilarious.
I follow a meme page and it's like just Creed. It's called Creed Daily. Please, guys, do yourself a favor. It's stupid. It's just people getting drunk and doing funny Creed things.
Hey, so be it.
Whatever. I don't care. They're going to have a new album and I'm really excited about that. Everybody that used to know me back in the day that's listening to this is like, what has that happened to her?
What is happening?
Jesus.
She listened
Creed.
to Nickelback too. God have mercy. Now,
Oh God. I don't know. I might listen to Nickelback on vacation. All right.
Lord
I want to
have
hear about I want to hear about your Hatman story.
Okay, the Hatman
Yeah.
story. It's not a crazy story.
Okay.
But I definitely had that encounter. It was a dark figure at the end of the bed. He shook my dresser, which I didn't understand any of that. The dresser vibrantly shook or violently shook. And I remember turning around and looking, and I just seen a dark figure with a hat. And from that point forward in my childhood, I slept with the lights on, not so much lights on, but the TV was always on. That's like teenage years. I came into that, but my dresser, I'll never forget that because my dresser was huge. This thing was old. It was from like the 80s. You know how they built real
Yeah.
wood. And I mean, when I say it violently shook, it scared the hell out of me. And this had to be probably in between the Christian witchcraft thing. And usually they say the Hat Man appears to people who with trauma and going through things.
Mm-hmm.
And they say he's a guardian. They say all these different things, but nonetheless, he's a shadow. And I seen the hat, I seen the brim, and just pull the cover over your head, shut your eyes, turn the TV on, and it was gone. But the encounter actually happened. So we were at dinner with I was with my wife. We were all sitting down. She has a lot of brothers and sisters. And the one brother was talking about something. And somehow we got onto the subject of seeing stuff in your bedroom at night because they lived in a haunted house. And it was a legit crazy experience at that house. But the one brother's like, yeah, I used to have this one figure always show up in my bedroom. And he always had a hat on. You could have heard a pin drop at the table. The whole table went silent.
Oh
And
my gosh.
the sister sitting there goes, you seen him too? And we were all like, what is going on? And I said, yeah, guys, do you know who that was? Do you know anything about it? And they're all Christian. And they're like, no, but we seen them. We seen them. And I think 3 out of the 9 of them seen them. And I said, that's the Hat Man. Go do some research. And
Yeah,
I
right.
told them. And I think it was like either Thanksgiving or Christmas, the whole table went to the subject. And I'm like, well, here we are.
Yes.
This is a great Thanksgiving subject.
Jesse ruined
Like,
Thanksgiving.
great. Here we go again. And but it was such a unique, like, oh my God, you seen him too, and you could have heard pin drops, and nobody was joking. Usually everybody's acting like idiots. And
Right.
there was no joking with that. So that's my 2 experiences with that shadow person. And
Crazy.
so yeah,
Yeah.
only one isolated experience with him, and I don't know why he was there. I just figured it was to scare me. I didn't track it. I was probably too young to, and maybe there was some
Yeah.
trauma.
I had a very similar experience with the furniture. And when I first told my testimony on the Bump podcast, that's like what started all of this. Like with my podcast and stuff like that, like just doing something. It was when I went on Bo Kennedy's show and I just told my testimony, and it's crazy. Like when you first start telling your testimony, how many different pieces you can get from other people, because it was such a real encounter that I didn't share with a lot of people. My friend Crystal, who is sometimes on the show now. Like, she was my co-host, but now she's just kind of like sometimes a guest because of like work and stuff. But like, she knew about it, and we always loved like all the haunted stuff, like all like we did all the witch stuff together. Like we were all in on that. But the thing was, like, that would even freak her out. Like, she would be like, you should hear it. This is a crazy thing. But when I was a little girl, it was like between 7 and 10, because that's when I think the most of the
All the
stuff.
trauma.
So my dresser, it's the same thing. Like, but I had a dresser and it had a TV on it.
Oh, okay.
Because I had a TV in my room. And so I must have been about 10. So like, it was like, here's my bed, there's the dresser, and there's the TV. It was just this crazy experience where like, if I closed my eyes, I could see these like I want to say like dots or something, but like it would fall. It was like this falling,
like orbs.
Yeah, but very small. Very, very faint and very small. And they would like change color, and I could like feel them. Like, I could feel my body. Like, it was almost like a covering. The more that I think about it, it feels like it was some sort of covering.
Right.
But when it would happen, but at the same time, I would see my furniture. So I would go under the covers, and then I would come out from the covers, and then that piece of furniture would have moved closer.
No.
Yes. And so then I would go under the covers, and then I would go up from the covers, and then it would be closer. Wow. And I remember this like one time. I don't know if it happened more than once, but it was like, I remember this. And then it just got closer and closer, and then it was finally like next to me, and then I just like freaked out and hid, and then it was like gone. Finally, it was back to normal.
What?
And I don't remember if like I had my door open, because we had a door. I had a door, and like you could see that the hallway was always dark.
Yeah.
So I don't really remember like an entity, but that experience was like tandem. Like, wow. the weird orby things. I just don't know what they were. Like, I really just don't. And I haven't heard anybody. I heard one lady that I actually talked to on the phone who had a similar encounter, and she thinks it might have been angels. But I don't know, because I've never. But I can it's really weird, because I don't know if I could like just make myself feel it. But it was like it's almost like if I think about it enough, I could probably feel it, because it's like a muscle memory almost. But it was like every nerve, everything was tingly. Everything. Yep. Yeah. And then
you were in the presence of something. Yeah.
But I would see these like falling lights.
Interesting.
It's really crazy. And they were like pink. Yeah, but I don't know. Right? Like, I don't know what that was. But then this would happen. And then it wasn't like a paralysis.
No.
Because I could could move.
Yeah. You were hiding and maneuvering. Yep.
But then also, like, but then when I got like a little bit older, I would go to the library and get like magazines about like transcendental meditation and stuff like that. So I was messing around with like silver cord stuff, which is fantastically stupid. Don't ever do that. You're a dumb, stupid idiot if you do it.
They believe that's how, Anton LaVey died. Yep.
That story is crazy.
Right? You've heard that story. They believe the cord is severed. That's for astral projection and all that sort of thing.
That is a wild. That will take you down a rabbit trail.
Yep.
Yeah. And it gets very dark.
Yeah, and that's a form of witchcraft I never jumped into. I never played with astral projection, jumping out of my body, although I've had those experiences. I've never sought them out. Never.
I had that experience, and it was crazy. Because it was literally in, everybody listening, this will be wild to you, a 17 magazine article. It's not like I went to like, Bob's Grimoire shop. It was literally like
teaching you how to do it.
17 magazine. Here's how to this is your silver like, and that was in the 90s.
Yep. And
people don't realize. So getting back to like, going to oh my gosh, I almost said Blockbuster. Going to Barnes and Noble. People think, oh, you're just being, you Christians don't play with the witchcraft. It's like, no, dummy, don't play with transcendental meditation. Don't do mushrooms and look for machine elves.
That's right.
Because you're going to find them and it's going to suck. Like clowns.
I could go on and on. So,
Oh,
you know,
I just saw a reel today. I saved it. I was gonna repost it, but then I was like, I don't want clowns on my feed. But like
did you say clowns on your feet?
clowns on my feed, like my
Feed. See,
Instagram feed.
I
I
was
don't
gonna
want
say, what the heck's
clowns
that
coming
mean?
into my algorithm, even
I
though now I'm
got you. I
talking
got you.
about them. But no, so it was literally like a clown ministry from the 80s. It was like it was somebody found it was like found footage and they were making fun of it and I was like, "Oh dear Jesus, what has been unleashed with this?" Because now everyone thinks that the Nephilim are clowns and I can't get down with that. I
The
just can't.
red hair, pale skin, right?
My whole brain explodes every time I hear that theory and I can't even. God, it makes me sick when I hear it and God's like, you don't have time for that, so don't even deal with it. Like, get
Man, I was going to
scroll
go
past.
there, but I'm not. There's another
No.
floor with
Mm-mm.
clowns.
Yeah,
And
I can't.
random insert. The jester is the only one that was ever allowed to make fun of the king. The only person.
Yep.
Think about that. That's
I don't want
wild
to.
stuff. Nope.
I don't
No,
like
I don't
clowns,
like
never
I'm not
have.
a clown fan.
No.
But yeah. Anyways,
Are we gonna end
so
on clowns?
I don't
Gosh.
want to. My God,
I
I
want
hate
to end on
clowns.
clowns. I know they're
I hate
terrible.
clowns. You know,
They're so terrible.
yeah, they
Mm.
are terrible. And yeah, I wanted to jump back to this. So I do this a lot too. And anytime I'm dealing with a spiritual oppression or constant sickness or something I can feel a hindrance, I'll always ask God to reveal if someone brought an item in or something happened
Mm-hmm.
or I took in an item. And this recently just happened. And I just kept staring at this thing my boy got from the dentist. And this thing is like a crocodile head that has storage in it. And I'm like, that thing's just not sitting well with me. And I don't know why. It could have been harmless, but it is just not sitting with me well. And he got really sick, all this stuff's going on, and that thing just kept appearing at me. It has like diamond eyes. I'm like, it's
Ugh.
from the dentist. I'm trying to write it off, going, this is stupid, this is dumb. It's just a stupid case. And finally I was like, get that trash out of the
Yeah.
house because God kept revealing. And as soon as I did, it sort of broke. And then we went to Laurel Caverns, which it's far from us, but we did it for a school trip. And my boy brought home crystals, and I didn't know it was in like a fun bag. And I had no idea it was there. And God revealed, He goes, go in the whatever it was, party bag and get rid of the rocks. And I'm like, what rocks? So
Right.
it may not be that way for everybody, but for me, that stuff has an imprint of things I played with. So I'm always really cautious dealing with that stuff. But I also ask God to reveal these things to me, and He does. He drops, like you were saying earlier in the book. I
Yep.
thought that was so important because Christians, I don't know if normal Christians do this, where they're like, I'm having a lot of hindrance. Did I bring something into my house to create this chaos? Did I align with something that creates this chaos? And, because I know a lot of Christians who are in turmoil all the time.
Yeah.
And one of the main things in ministry we do is called decluttering the chaos. If your house is a mess, if your life is a mess, we got to start decluttering.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
Yeah, you
huge
have
thing.
to.
You have to order. I mean, my God, you have got to bring order to your life. So I don't know. That was a random insert that just popped back up and I have marked.
No, I think that's really important because again, it just gets back to how things are so intertwined and very, very not black and white. Like,
Not at all.
and I think that that's where we get into so much spiritual trouble because you've got like, I've got new age friends, I've got Wiccan friends, I've got,
Yeah.
people and listeners and whomever, on it's not one side versus the other side.
No.
We're all in a spiritual battle, whether
Oh,
you believe it or not, whether
that's
you
right.
like it or not, whether you think, you've got the power and everything you're doing is fine.
The
It's
craft.
fine for a while
Yeah.
until it passes down. That's the thing that we keep forgetting. It's fine until, yeah, maybe, maybe your kid's okay. I don't
Yeah.
know. What about the second kid? Or maybe, I don't know,
10
what about the
generations down.
grandkid?
Yeah.
You got to think about that stuff.
You
It's
have to.
crazy,
And
you
it's
know?
ignorant not to, you know. I
And especially in this time. In this time, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to. I don't want to say dabble. It's like we are dabbling because we're in the world.
agree.
It's so muddled here.
Yeah,
It's just like forget it.
I
You
agree.
because it almost reminds me of like when I was vegan, right? Or when I was like a super hippie, where it's
Secret.
just like, man, yeah, I'm like a Jesus hippie now. Like
Hey,
I'm
nothing wrong.
leveled out. I'm
Level.
totally leveled out, man.
Grounded.
But like, we're actually grounded. You know, save the dolphins. Okay.
Right?
Well, I couldn't do that. Save the whales. Save the planet. Do you recycle? Are you vegan? Where'd your eggs come from? Where'd this come from?
Oh gosh.
You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
can do that
It's a cult
spiritually
mindset.
but so is everything we can do spiritually.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if I sit here and I try to do it in my own power, that's why what you said is so important. Ask God to reveal it.
That's right. 100%.
Ask God to reveal to you, and that needs to be our prayer every day. Like Shelly said the other day, we were talking, you know, or in our last episode with them, Fellowship of the Fringe, like, you know, we say the Lord's Prayer every day because it's a covering, you know, and then however you want to add other things, like, but just reveal to me, what is it in my house?
Right.
Not me going through and being like, what's this? You know, people have a problem with Bigfoot, you know, ideology, whatever, you know, like, if there's something that I'm doing and you don't want me to do, reveal it to me and I'll figure it out. But with that sort of stuff too, you don't know where that could have come from. And I know this is where I get a little like not superstitious, but for real, like, I don't know, did you ever see Rosemary's Baby?
That's not so much. That wasn't my favorite. No, I did not.
Well, so like in that, I don't know, it's like my favorite thing because she's just like all of them witches, because literally they were all witches that were around her because her husband, at the end, spoiler alert, if anyone ever
you ruined the whole, now I'll never watch it.
Well, she ends up having like the devil's baby, and that was like the whole point is like she's in an entire, like, basically there's a cabal of witches. But the thing is, people are putting things in place, people are giving her things, and she's not thinking about it, and she's thinking that this is, you know,
so nice.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But we can look at that with anything, you know, where, yeah, it might not be that your dentist is a legit like cabal Satanist, but there could have been somebody that somebody told to put this there and they don't know why. And it's like, if God can use people, then the devil can use people too.
Absolutely. Listen.
Like,
oh man.
That's just it. We have to remember that we are in a very twisted universe here. Like, everything is twisted on this world.
Well, and you know, this is so interesting, and I always tell this, but I think it's worth noting. The pie root word of witch is to twist. It's to be twisted. People don't know that. And you know, anytime
it's twisting.
It's twisting, and it's twisting what God has sort of made for good to try to make it for whatever you want it for, right? We're pulling from something, trying to get what we desire. And I always heard, well, witches would be millionaires. I say, look at Hollywood. Hollywood in itself, lost angels. Hollywood is like the most sacred item to make stuff with in witchcraft. I mean, Hollywood's no joke. And there's so much resonance and ideology and ritualistic understanding in Hollywood. I mean, it's wild. We won't get into that, but a couple of things.
No, but you're right. It is. It's crazy. Weird, and the twisting is, I think that's why it's so important, because I feel like sometimes when I have this conversation with people, especially pagan people, like, I'm just going to kind of maybe draw that distinction. Like, if I'm a Christ follower and then you're a pagan, that's fine. Like, doesn't really matter. You're either a Christ follower or you're pagan. Like, it's just it. I mean, that's like basically biblical, right? I don't know. I'm not a pastor.
The old world way.
But it's just the way that we, you know, but I mean, it's not to say like you pagan heathen. It's just like, it's a distinction of beliefs and worldview, I think, is a fair assessment of that. But I think the thing is, when I'm talking to people about like witchcraft and we're having this conversation and I'm saying, oh, well, they were doing witchcraft, it's like, we have to think about it just like that way that you explained it. It's a twisting, it's a manipulation, getting back to intention.
Yeah.
If you come to me, and I always use this example because I feel like this is how people get into white witchcraft, and then it's like, it's a whole different, I don't know. It's just really crazy to me because, like, I can literally take holy basil and chew it up and make a poultice and put it on your foot that you stepped on a bee, and it'll take the pain away. That is not witchcraft.
No.
That is using God's creation for what it's intended for.
Absolutely.
So you don't really need to go around and be like, I am a kitchen witch because I did that. No. You're not. You just use God's creation, you know. But what happens is, I think that we love that branding,
Yeah.
like, and then that kind of
A green witch.
played. We and
See, I'm
I love
branded.
we just talked about granny witches, and I kind of love them because
Yeah.
they were like those Appalachian grannies. They got called that, but they weren't running around saying, "I am the granny witch."
No. They
You
were
know,
healing people with
they were
naturally.
healing people. Like
Yeah.
Crystal and I had the best conversation about them, and I was like, I love them.
Listen,
You know,
dark form of healing, and a lot of people don't want to admit this, is pharmakia. It's
oh yeah,
very alchemistic.
yeah.
It's very dark, and I mean, you're throwing chemicals into an electromagnetic system. It's dark, man, and I
I
could
just
go
had
all
this
day.
conversation with my 10-year-old, and he did not like it
Well, of
because
course,
we have some people that are experiencing some serious illnesses, and they're
yeah,
taking some serious medicines, and he's just like,
very
well,
dark medicines.
but he's like, oh, you didn't. He's like, you wouldn't want them to get healed, and I was like, I'm not saying that. I'm
No,
saying that sometimes medicines do more harm than
then good,
good, and we don't realize it.
and
Like,
that's
so I
fact.
don't want to get into that because I know
No,
it's a
that's
whole
okay.
different, and I'm not
No,
actually really experienced in having this conversation like this level because I don't
yeah,
really do research into this pharmakia,
yeah,
but I know what you're talking about
right.
because
It's alchemy base.
it's
Yeah,
alchemy, and it's also, again, it's the twisting. Like, I
it's the
think if
twist.
when people start looking at the world in those different
Right.
terms of,
Yeah.
like, first of all, we live in a supernatural world.
Right.
We live in a spiritual world.
Absolutely.
And once you start, like, the stuff comes off your eyes, the scales come off your eyes, and you start
Heavily.
realizing this stuff, you can't unsee it.
So this is always funny, and anyone that dabbles with like healing in the green sector, we always called them green witches, right? That's what we knew them at.
But yeah,
And then you called it a granny witch, which is
yeah,
hilarious. That's funny.
granny
I never
witches.
heard that term. But Appalachian Mountains here, green
Yeah, because
witches
it
is
was
what
like they're, oh, you guys called them grain witches?
green,
Really?
Green, green witchcraft. And that's where you're
Oh,
using roots and the spirits of the
green.
earth. Green.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, it's the Pittsburgh, Baltimore accents.
I
We can't
know
even
we're
communicate.
clashing.
My
Sorry, that's
gosh.
terrible. It's awful. No, I said
I
green. You
thought you
thought
said
granny
grain.
caramel. No,
Yeah.
I know that's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
No, yeah, green witches. Oh, that was like my whole thing.
was it?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
like,
there's a whole series. I mean, whatever. You can go into every like new age store.
yeah.
Scott
Oh goodness,
Cunningham wrote a whole ton
cutting
of,
roots, everything.
yeah, it was all about, but see, that's the thing. Again, it's the intention, right? Like, so I'm
Right.
not going to that
No,
for healing. I'm not
no,
making
no,
a
no, no.
poultice. I'm not making, I'm not using astragalus root to have a nourishing soup.
Right.
I'm doing that, like, which is actually, you should cook with astragalus, everybody. Please do that. Actually, I need to get my hands on some. Anyway,
Just don't eat water,
just,
hemlock, whatever you do. My God.
yeah, please don't do that. Oh my gosh. Anyway, don't even look at hemlock.
don't breathe it.
Don't even
go near
go
it.
near it.
Learn
But
what it
like,
is and stay away.
exactly. But like the thing is, like, if I'm taking that stuff and I'm putting it in a pot and my intention is to, put a spell on somebody or to or to or to or to change the outcome of something.
Right.
I don't even need to say put a spell on some whatever.
No, I know.
Cuz back when I was able to do things, I didn't even have to say anything.
It was intentional.
It was like, oh, I want this outcome to happen, and
Isn't
it would
it
happen.
telekinetic? Right.
Yeah, something
We
like
t-
that. But I didn't realize I was doing it.
Right.
It just, I got to that point
Right.
where I could manipulate an outcome in people.
Yeah.
Which is
100%.
terrible. I should probably start repenting. I should make a big list.
We would always call it
Good
passing.
golly.
And then the Bible talks about passing of spirits. We do this. We turn people on people unintentionally, but with intention. It's weird stuff. And you cloak people with the spirit. It's very interesting. So we talked about doing this stuff in the forest and how and the one mentor I had told me, don't listen to the trees.
Don't listen to the trees.
That you posted this. And anytime we would do this, you're barefoot. We would always go barefoot.
Mhm.
You are connected to everything going on, whether you'd stand in the circle, outside of it, on it, whatever. And with that, the understanding, when you look at Moses, God told him right away, take your shoes off. You're on holy ground. Through the burning bush. There is so much of us being connected to the things we need to be connected to. And the first thing we did when we got rubber, we put it on our feet to disconnect us. So many people are walking around depressed, disconnected, sick as hell, to say the least. Go outside, and there's science to show this now. 10, 15 minutes a day of being connected, prayer time, it changes your blood, it changes your molecular structure, it removes inflammation in your body. And the same people, and there is a very dark deity. He will create the problem and give you the cure so you could sell it. And
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
going to say the name, but it's a
Yeah.
very dark, it's like the worst one you could go after.
Yeah.
And I always talk about this because that's in moneycraft and different things. But without saying the name, when you understand all that, you start putting all this stuff in the sort of pieces. And I always consider ourselves people coming out of witchcraft into Christianity, dark nights, because we have
Yeah.
the understanding of the archaic
It's like
world.
Batman.
Well, not even so much like not. I hate Batman, to be honest. He ruined that term. I'm not a Batman fan at all. He's my least favorite.
Get off my show. I'm just kidding.
I'm actually just kidding. Listen, Superman, I hate Superman. I think I'm not a DC fan all that
I'm
much.
just kidding.
No,
I do.
I actually
I love the first Batman because
I like
it
the
was the
older
best.
series of Batmans, and I
Yeah.
love Christian
I love.
Bale's Batman, right? But like
Yeah. I
Brad Pitt
didn't.
sort of ruined that for me.
Oh,
Oh,
anyway.
really?
All right. So, no,
Anyway, this
I
is the
love the first
Baltimore
Batman.
Pittsburgh divide. I'm
This is
sorry.
really going. This is
Sorry.
going down.
You
We
can
should.
edit that out.
No, I'm not gonna edit that out.
No.
No, we need to be coming together because we're actually on the other side. Like we're on this side together,
I
like on
know.
this coast together.
Yeah.
Everybody else is in
I know.
Texas
Let them
fighting this
Texans be
battle.
down there, and the
I
Californians
know.
and Coloradans.
I know. Everyone's here, but no, you make a good point. Like, there's definitely something to not. I mean, we have a whole generation of kids that literally tell each other to go touch grass.
Go touch grass. What's it mean, right?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
take your shoes off and go touch the grass.
Go touch
like,
grass.
It's insane.
When I was having real bad problems in the winter, I would go outside, take my shoes off, and just stand there and pray on the ground.
Oh,
And
that's crazy.
I would do it. I would absolutely do it. And I would come in feeling like a whole new person, not because I was frozen to death, but because I felt sort of interlinked, connected. Even now, if I get really distant in my relationship and my walk with God, that hasn't happened in a long time, thank God. I would go up to the mountains. I would go out to the lakes. I would go to the forest. And what's so ironic about that is that's where I would go to do the crafts and stuff. But God meets me in that nature. He meets me
So
there.
crazy.
It's wild.
He restored. See, this is the conversation that I really was excited to have because, like, I don't have many people that I can talk to about this.
Right.
Like, where it's like I can openly talk about what I would practice and then how God has restored it, because and I have a hard time with a lot of people that come out of witchcraft and have like very large Christian platforms now, because all they do is like sit and rebuke and judge, and
Right. And
I
I don't
find
do
that
that.
I find that really boring
It
because
is. It's boring and it's showy. Right?
and it's just like, okay, well, that's
What are
why
you doing?
nobody goes. That's why nobody goes to church, because you're doing exactly that. Like, but what I would really like to talk about is like what's the difference? Like, how does God? Maybe we can like put a pin in this and do another episode or something. I don't know.
Absolutely.
We can think about that. But like,
Market.
I will market this. Yeah, I can mark it on here because I really think I think that that's a really interesting take, because no one's talking about that. Like you just said, like when you draw a circle, when you cast a circle, there are so many times when I literally sit and have people pray on me that I'm like, in any other context, this is witchcraft.
In a circle. And
We're standing in a circle.
What are they doing?
They're putting hands on me and are they incanting? You know what I mean? Like, come on, guys.
Calling on the God of the universe. You're calling as a group, calling on God, right?
This is exactly what we would do when we would stand in a circle and call on the moon or whatever.
Right. And
like,
different
it's
deities.
just crazy to me.
Crazy.
It's just so crazy.
And, I think it was on the, with Rick and Shelley, we talked about witchcraft in Christianity.
Yeah.
And, that was my high school like main project. You had to do one to graduate, and it was Christianity versus witchcraft. And I talked about the parallels. Yeah, I talked about the parallels of these things. And I've been doing this a long, long time. And, as I get older and I could see the Solomon wisdom come around, because your whole perspective of life changes. You have kids. It's not all about you anymore. It's legacy leaving. It's these different things. And the one big thing that I've noticed is these deities that came down, the fallen and stuff, gave these useless knowledges. They're just useless knowledge. That's what the Bible talks about, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, these are all processes that were meant for good, but the devil took and used them to manipulate and to twist, right? And
Oh yeah. Well,
that's really,
look at cutting of roots.
oh my goodness.
So that always like would stick with me again, like
Yeah.
getting back to like the whole grimoires and stuff,
Yeah.
because that's what you would do. It was just like I mean, look at the quintessential picture of making a potion and a witch making a potion. She's putting this in, she's putting this in, she's putting this in. She's like doing all this stuff.
The birthday cake.
Right. Like who is it like honoring? Who is it calling down? Whatever. Is it her power? Is it the power of the herbs? No, it's behind it. There's a deity and you're deceived. You
Yep.
think that it's you cutting all the stuff up. That always like stood out to me, the cutting of roots. I'm like, why does it matter? I'm like, wait a second. Like we can do all of this like naturopathic, healing. Like for sure there's a whole bunch of that happening.
Right.
Like there
Yeah.
is no doubt.
It's wild. I mean, it's just so interesting. So, again, I think it just comes back to intention base and
Yeah.
like Jesus spitting in the mud, putting it on the eyes. Was that witchcraft?
Right.
That wasn't
Yeah.
witchcraft. There was
Exactly.
something there. There was a transfer. There was something happening. Someone touching the hem of his garment. You could be like, that was witchy. Splitting the sea with a staff. That was
Oh my
witchy,
gosh, yeah.
right?
That's like wizards.
Right? Turning a staff into a serpent. That was witchy. Calling fire down from heaven. That was what made it different.
Yeah.
It was God intended, right? So it
Right.
was God's movement. It was God's will. Striking a rock, having it split, and water coming out. Was that witchy? Was
That's
that a
so
witchy?
witchy.
Right? And like in movies, we would see that. That's
Yeah.
what you would see in movies. And but no, this is God's power operating. It's very interesting that Christians, just want to cast judgment. And it's funny we say cast, right? What are you doing
Yeah.
when you cast? You're
Yeah.
casting something. So all these words are very familiar in the back and forth when it comes to this stuff. And speaking curses and
Oh,
all this.
I love the idea of casting because this dawned on me the other day because we were talking about that, I think, and then somebody else brought it up. I think it was Ricky. Somebody brought it up and they were like, I don't like the term casting, like or
Yeah.
broadcasting, or
Broadcast.
I don't
right?
like that.
Telecast.
But here's the thing. There's also in the Bible that we're supposed to cast our cares.
Yep.
So we're casting, like we're putting it out there.
That's
We're
right.
throwing it back.
A cast.
A cast.
Yep.
Right.
And
So
when you fish, you cast. Right?
exactly.
Hoping
So it's
you
like
get a fish.
which is
Interesting.
witchy. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it is. But it's so fun to have this play
The
on
Bible
words.
is witchy. Is
Well,
the name of this episode. Oh my god.
Yeah, and I hope nobody goes crazy and calls us
Oh.
heretics and stuff. But
Nah, I
the
don't care.
reality is there's a parallel, right? And it really,
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
all about where you're sourced, what you pull from. And I think curiosity is what enchants people. I think that's why witchcraft is so heavily on the rise. And God, not himself, but his people are so boring because
That's
they're not
exactly
making any
right.
moves. They're not
Correct.
making any moves. They're boring. You look
no.
like a representation of the world. You're not supposed to be this.
Oh, that was the conversation that I was having with my 10-year-old when he got like mad at me because I was talking about like pharmacy drugs and stuff like that. And I said because the beginning of that conversation was I was saying they have a new priest at his school and he's from Nigeria, and then there's like a whole bunch of like Nigerian nuns, and I was like, it's about to pop off there because that's a whole different type of
People.
Christian.
Yep.
And we're gonna see. I'm like excited. I'm like, I'm gonna
He
see
moves.
some stuff happen. Like
Yeah.
something's gonna move
God's going to
because
move.
and I was trying to explain it to him without freaking him out because
Right.
mom's a weirdo.
Yeah.
Because in Africa and in different parts of the world, they're not boring Christians. They're not bland.
Nope.
They're not like lukewarm and every other boring blah that
Yeah.
we talk about. Like, and yeah, exactly. Because they're seeing crazy stuff happen over there.
Crazy. You have no idea.
Crazy stuff. Like
Yeah.
people are legit. Don't sit there and tell me that people don't raise from people. Like God doesn't
The
raise
dead.
people from the dead because he
It has
sure does it
happened.
in Africa.
Yep. And you
Like,
know what? The
it's
African
crazy.
nation, those people are like a source of God's presence. People don't
Yes.
want to hear this. And like, I have watched videos, I have dealt with missionaries. I get chills even talking about this. And I'm going to, give just a quick little story. There was a missionary that came to the church, and he was somewhere in Africa where it was really heavily Muslim population. And he was with a little village, and I believe it was Africa, South Africa, I want to say. Anyways, and he was encamped. They were encamped, and then it was the middle of the night. They heard gunshots, and they kept getting closer, kept getting closer. And they had radios, so they knew they were coming under attack. This little village of Christians, and these Muslims were coming in, shooting at them, shooting at them. And then finally on the radio, they said, "We're being overwhelmed," in their language, and they ran away essentially. They heard it on the radio until it ended that we're being overwhelmed. Something's shooting back. Something's coming at us. We have no idea. They're just sweeping us out. And they're literally having this conversation. And he tells his story on stage. And he said there was a little boy there praying. And he said, put the encampment of God's angels around us, protect us, send your army to protect. And this is a little boy praying. And they heard reports later on that they didn't realize that your village had an army of people surrounding it.
Oh my
That
gosh.
stuff is wild.
Yeah.
Why would a missionary lie about that? Why would he embellish a
No.
story?
Yeah.
He
No.
wouldn't.
Right. No,
So,
because he would get beheaded.
yeah, right. And this
Yeah.
is an actual story that happened. And I can't remember. It's been so many years, but I remember the story.
Well,
And
they
I'm
just
like,
killed a bunch of people in a Bible study. Like, literally, that happened like today or yesterday.
yeah, yep. Where was this? Do
I
you
want to
know?
say, I'm gonna look it up. It might. I think it was in Nigeria. It was in Africa.
Crazy. And so there was an army surrounding that village that overwhelmed these attackers. And that to me is a true move of God. You don't hear those type of stories here. And I
No.
love the missionaries are like superheroes. I love them. I love them so much. And it's so interesting. In the AG especially, they have that's a big missionary sect of the church. And I would say out of everybody, we the AG did a great job.
Oh, this was in April. I can't find it. June 16th. I mean, it's constant in Nigeria. It's like pick one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's insane, but
Well, it's
like,
sad. These people are persecuted for their belief, and we're here in America. Like, come on, we got to get out because of football. You know, what is going on? This is
we're
why we
here
don't see the move of God. Like
exactly
that's what
because
it is.
we're lukewarm.
We're lukewarm,
And because we want to sit and fight with other, and because for one, we don't even want to talk to people, to witches.
right?
We don't want to talk to them.
No, you don't want these people.
No, we don't want to talk to the Satanists. We don't want to go into warfare at all.
Right.
We want to be
At
nice
all.
and cozy. Like, that's just what it is,
Give us the coffee, let us listen to music, and go to work
Which
Monday
is,
morning.
I mean, like, yeah, like that's fine because
get it.
we should get to, we talk about this all the time, right?
Yeah,
Like, I'm
all the
not
time.
saying let's not go together and be corporate. Like, I
No,
mean,
no,
I
you
work
can.
at church. I understand why we do what we do.
Yeah.
100% believe in the mission of it. However, I do love the fact that we say on, after Sunday, your pastor's not holding your hand.
Right.
You need to have a working relationship, a loving relationship with the Lord, and figure out what He has purpose for your life.
100%.
Like, and if you're not doing that, and if you're just going to church, and you've been doing that for 40 years, what are you even doing? What are you doing for the kingdom? And that's what it is. All of American church, most of American church is just like comfy, cozy faith. I feel I'm saved.
Yep. Don't have to do anything. But you know what? Man, a tree with no fruits. What a lame tree.
I want to talk to the witches. This is like, dude, witches, talk to us. This is
it. Yeah.
Seriously, like what? The Bible is witchy.
Listen, and I think the conversation needs to be had. It needs to be had.
It really does. This conversation has been great because, like, you need to see the parallels between what you're practicing and the actual truth.
Right. And like, the truth for real. Is, I'm not a puppet in God's kingdom. I get to be a part of this.
Exactly.
You're a
I
puppet.
Think that's what people don't understand, and that's the sad thing.
That is the sad thing. And, they just act like this God wants to do this and destroy these people. And they take everything completely out of context. And the mind-boggling part to me is like, out of everybody, and I had someone say this to me years ago, witches that come out of like witchcraft, wizards, whatever you want, warlocks, mages,
Hmm.
doesn't matter. Coming out of that into Christianity, you see everything so much more differently than just coming out of nothing into Christianity.
And the people that also come out of SRA, because that's a different category. I think we need to make that
Yeah.
distinction.
When
Talking
you say
like
SRA, I know this term.
so, like satanic ritual abuse. So
Okay.
people that
Okay.
are like legitimately
Okay.
in.
I'm bad with acronyms, so you got to forgive me with that.
Okay, so like it's basically the people that have been
Satanic
programmed
abuse. I got you.
and right in.
Ritualistic abuse and stuff.
Yes,
I got you. And
and
that
that
stuff's
stuff is
wicked.
extremely dark and very different than what I'm talking about. Like the people that like I used to hang out with that like let's go to the vampire.
Lakecraft.
Yeah, let's go to the like vampire club. And
Yeah.
however,
Can't get
we
excited.
we were talking about this that we forgot that there were people that were trying to like pick up one of my friend's sisters, and it was like, hey, do you want to go to this after party, this vampire after party? Because that could have been, she could have been like trafficked into the SRA. Like that. So
Yeah.
that's the, you know what I mean? Like that's the thing. Like when you're in it, you don't think about that stuff because you don't know how dark.
Right.
The surface isn't as dark as.
No, it's pretty actually. It's very interesting. It's whimsical.
But when you get, it is whimsical. That's a great way to say it.
It's a
Like it's
whimsical.
totally
Yeah.
whimsical and lovely, and
Like, this is
everybody,
awesome. Yeah.
you know, we're all just Stevie Nicks, and it's wonderful.
Right,
Like,
Stevie
and we're having a great
Nicks.
time.
God.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of how it is. But there's levels, because there's levels to the kingdom,
Yep.
and there's levels to like the spiritual realm and all of that. So like if we don't understand that, if you just think like, oh, we're just humans masquerading, if we think it's all just like Anne Rice vampire ball,
Right. It's not that,
we're
bro.
totally missing it. Every
Yeah.
goth reference.
Right, and all the Black Parade. No, but we could
I
drop
hated
them
that.
off.
I hated that song.
No, I love that song. I love
I know
the
that's
bridge of that
because
song.
I know everyone says it. I'm just older, and
The
I
bridge is so much better.
don't like. I hate a rock opera.
Oh, really?
Just
You
really,
don't like Queen?
Ugh.
Oh, really?
Nope. Sorry. Yeah,
Two different people.
I'm gonna kick myself off my own
Baltimore.
show. I know. Gosh,
We're learning a lot of terrible things.
we are.
But
I
no,
hate
it's super
Pittsburgh. No,
interesting.
just kidding.
My goodness.
I know. We should do. So I like this episode. I think we should do like, I don't know. Now I just want to have a whole bunch of different shows, but we should do like another episode where we talk about. I love this idea of the parallel. Like
The parallel, yeah.
I really, really want people like. Because I think it's just important to talk about this stuff. I feel like if we just don't talk about it, and then we're afraid to like or hurt people's feelings or whatever because what they're practicing is, it's like, no, it's, you're just not understanding. I'm not saying that you're not doing, I don't know, it's just so hard to explain to people. I think I really want to lay it out in like a loving way, but like also it's not even that. It's not that you're wrong. It's just that you're super manipulated, and I want you to have like an encounter with God. And if you would just ask him,
that's it. He'll
it's
show
really
up.
just it. Like I've seen friends come to church with me and be so, their spirit is so jostled and they're so confused because it's like, I really love what I see here. And I see that these people are moved and everyone's so happy and it's amazing, but I feel really vulnerable and uncomfortable. And it's like, yes, you do, because stuff in you doesn't want you to release this and be like, hey, God, what are you all about? It's literally legit that easy. Like,
you know, it's so wild doing witchcraft and coming out of it. You understand that these things inhabit you, they utilize you, and they get, for them, I don't know if it's a sense of peace or a sense of power or a sense of position or that they're doing what they're called to do. It's their purpose. But when you come near the source that originally rejected them, they're not allowed in you. This is why the Holy Spirit, when you invite him in, that uncleanness gets washed. This is the whole washing away. You know, that's scary because when you source yourself out of all that power, of all the incantations, of all the protections, of all of your crystals, of all these things, and you come into God and he says, hey, you don't need any of that. You just need the Holy Spirit. Here he is. All you got to do is ask. That's it.
which is so weird.
right?
Is
It is so weird.
I mean, again, we're still just talking about a different spirit.
Right.
But like most people don't realize or don't want to admit that I'm inhabited by a spirit that's an opposite spirit. Like when I wasn't talking about like, oh, I've got it's me. It's my spirit. My spirit. My spirit. My spirit. Now I still say that like, oh, my spirit feels weird, but it's like, I don't know. I'm not going to be like, me and the Holy Spirit feel super weird right now, guys. Or Scooby senses are
The Scooby senses are
freaking out, me and the Holy Ghost. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I still feel weird, like,
it
Holy
is
Spirit,
weird, I guess.
like, are you there? I kind of just want to, like, I want you to have a different name.
You're right. The Holy Ghost. The
Holy
Holy Ghost.
Ghost. Holy Ghost, help me. Like, I don't know. Now I'm just being a jerk, but
Well,
like,
it's
so
super interesting
it is.
because, again, whenever the shroud was ripped, God left the habitation of brick and mortar. We
Mm-hmm.
became the temples. So when you
Yeah.
start using this understanding, at least for the witchy end of this makes a lot of sense because you're dabbling with spirits. You're doing protections against certain things, deities, entities, whatever you want to, ancestors. Doesn't matter what sect you are. But like that is big. And that's more the like Japanese and Shintoism and all that stuff, previous ancestors, all that fun stuff. We call them like in spirits. But
Yeah.
whenever you're dealing with this stuff, it's the same concept that you're opening yourself up. And the way we do it is a little bit different. We don't have to prepare rituals. We just come asking, we come expecting, right? Our
Yes.
expectation is where God meets us, the curiosity or whatever you want to say. And that's the beautiful part. And like, there are a lot of shows like Benny Hinn slapping people with coats and
Oh my
stuff.
God.
I mean, come on now. This stuff drives me nuts. But the reality is, I've watched people just pray, just say, Father God, open his eyes in Jesus' name, amen. And the people are cured of their blindness.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no emotionalism. We don't
Nope.
have to build the atmosphere for the God of the universe. That's what I
Right.
always say. We don't have to do
Yeah.
it. And, earlier they had to do the altars, they did all that stuff, but the Holy Spirit's open and accessible, right? So he's
Right.
there ready for help at any time. And I never,
However, when we come together, we can shift the atmosphere.
right, you can,
Exactly. And that
absolutely.
is very exciting when
It
that
is
happens.
very
When
exciting.
when God's people come together
There's something
expecting,
wild. Yep.
it's wild. Like,
And
so I like to make that distinction too. Like, yeah.
we could go on all night about this, but
Yeah.
I just got off a job. This was like a couple months ago, and a storm was rolling in on top of us. We had to do a patch on a roof. And I looked at Brian because I try not to be a weird Christian with my people, right? I looked at the kid that works for me, and it's just me, him, hand nailing these shingles, and it's a bigger patch than we expected. All this stuff, and a storm's rolling in. I'm like, if this storm hits, it's flooding their house. So I said, Brian, I'm going to give it my shot. And I said, Storm, I command you in the mighty name of Jesus Christ to stay away until we put the last toll away. In Jesus' name, I proclaim and declare it, amen, and believed it. So we just finished. We're getting everything off the roof, and the storm's now really rolling in. And we're talking about hours. This isn't like 10 minutes. This is hours that storm's in the distance. And around here, storms come and go very quickly in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We're like in a jet stream in this area. And as soon as I put the shovel in the trailer, last hole, it completely downpoured. We got in the truck and we were a little wet off the ground, right? And I looked at Brian and I said, did you see what happened there? That was the power of God that held that storm off. And Christians want to act like that's strange or weird. And I don't know if that was cringeworthy to tell that story, but
No,
some
I think
listeners,
it's awesome.
we have the same power that we did back then, but it's
Mm-hmm.
through Christ, it's through God, the spirits, all these things. We don't need that unclean stuff. We have God and we can still do this stuff. And I remember my dad telling a story about doing sort of the same thing, pushing off a storm, and I remember rolling my eyes going, oh, he's crazy. But when you experience it in such an intimate way, because you're like, these people's house will be destroyed if that
Yeah.
storm comes. And people are like, well, what about the babies? What about Texas? What bad things are going to happen? I can't speak on those things. I wasn't there. I don't know the context. But in that moment, God met me personally and faith met him, and that storm stayed away. Whether it was coincidence, so be it. But it was still an awesome thing that experiencing the show a non-Christian, more of a partial Catholic, the power of God in a tangible way. And he talks about that all the time.
That's awesome.
All the time. He's like, why don't you just pray away that cloud up there? And he may be
My
making
gosh.
fun of him,
Yeah,
but
right.
the reality is he experienced something otherwise he never would have.
That's awesome. God's so
Wow.
cool.
God is so cool. And that's not, saying anything
No,
all the time. That's all about God,
no,
all
exactly. But that's still just like, yeah,
the wild story.
the
And
wild stuff that he will do.
I hesitate to talk about that because I'm like, that's a weird story, but it happened.
And you brought it here to the
Yeah.
weirdest
So the
podcast
weirdest podcast we could
any
find,
any Christian could ever
hope for.
be given by God. I don't know what he's
You
doing with
never
this.
listen. You
I don't
never
know.
know.
It's
You
so
just
funny.
don't know where this stuff goes, and
I know.
it's so interesting. But I always enjoy stories. I think stories are something we all have in common, and
Definitely.
it's
Oh,
something.
Jesse, thank you so much for coming
Absolutely,
on.
it was
This
so
was
cool
so
to be here.
great.
This was a good time.
Oh my gosh. All right, Jesse, tell everybody where they can find you on TikTok.
Listen, you can find me under the Handyman Preacher. We're there. We do a lot of different things, and a couple viral videos of stupid stuff. But we have a good time, and share the gospel any chance I can. And God bless you guys. Thank you so much for having me on here. This was really fun.
It really
Not
was.
everybody can connect on this stuff, and I'm so tired of people thinking I'm just super strange whenever we talk about this. So,
No, welcome. Welcome
hey,
over here.
hey,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
All right, guys, go follow Jesse on Instagram and if you must on TikTok.
If you must.
If you must. If you're allowed. If God allows it.
If God allows it. We're dark over here.
Exactly. I know. It is. It's like the super dark side.
Right.
So yeah, go follow Jesse and thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, remember that God no, that's not how it goes. I don't even know. The truth is out there.
The truth is out
The
there.
truth is out there. God is with you, and everyone always ends up in the kitchen. You have been listening to Sasquatch and Sourdough. I'm Christina, and thank you so much for tuning in. Sasquatch and Sourdough is so much more than just a podcast. We're a community of kindred spirits, united by our curiosity and fascination with the extraordinary. And we want to bring you into the conversation. So whether you've had a brush with the unexplainable, seen something that you can't quite wrap your head around, this is your space. We invite you to join us as we break bread and break down the barriers between the known and the unknown. If you want to share your story, you can email us at sasquatchandsourdough@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram. Until next time, remember, the truth is out there, God is with you, and everyone always ends up in the kitchen.